Hello, Chicago! Welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio. Finally, it has arrived. The week of the NFL Draft is finally upon us. And to celebrate, Aaron Rodgers decided to get out of the division. Hell, he decided to get out of the conference. The bad man up north is gone. We will celebrate Rodgers' departure. We will continue to make your case for the last few prospects at number 9 that some names that have been thrown at me. I will also then make my determination for Ryan Poles on who I'd like to see him take. We will discuss the Rodgers to the Jets fallout, what that means for the division, what it means for the conference, etc., etc. All those good and wonderful things. We're not going to be just football tonight, though, no. We have one last legend from the Blackhawks dynasty to wish a fond farewell to. Jonathan Toews has played his final game as a Blackhawk. We will pay our respects and wish him well on whatever his future endeavors might be, whether they're still in the NHL with somebody or if they're playing overseas or if he retires from hockey. And then also we will check in on both sides of town as far as baseball is concerned as well. One team trending kind of in an up direction, the other team very much trending in a downward direction. All that plus more coming up here in the next 57 minutes or so. Buckle it up, everybody. Here we go. And once again, hello and good evening to everyone. I am your host, Adam Karnick. You have found your way into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Lots to go over tonight. Of course, this is the final week of Make Your Case, so we're going to be going over a few more names at the number 9 overall spot to make the case for why they should be Ryan Poles' guy. I'm also going to be making my determination on what Poles should do, who I'd like to see him take after we've gone through all these players here the last few weeks, plus all kinds of other news and notes that we're going to be going through. Yes, the big news of the afternoon. We will be talking about that too. But before we get any further, of course, we do need to get our homework done here. IE Sports Radio is available for you on all the major social platforms, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Just search at IE Sports Radio or go to our website, iesportsradio.com. For the last 8+ years, very nearly 9 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content, ranging from interviewing legendary athletes to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans. And with your help, we are ready to take the next step. When you go to our website, iesportsradio.com, you'll see our Patreon link with 5 different tiers. The first one starting at just $5 a month. This donation gets you a shout-out on each one of our shows. Higher tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to our podcasting university, and even a chance to be featured on a segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment. Thank you all very much for continuing to make IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. Want to thank our Patreon supporters at this point: Bay Area Raised, Amlos Great, Key to the Gate, and Anonymous. And I mentioned the ways that you can follow along with the station on social media. This show is also available for you on social media. We are available at IESRC. Or you can follow along with me personally on Twitter. I am at Adam_Karnick. And if you are listening live here tonight on Spreaker.com, first of all, welcome. hop on into the chat room. Taryn Rodriguez is already there. You can join us in the chat. We can interact, have some fun that way. Log in. There's no cost to it. You log on in. We have a little back and forth, and it's fun that way. You can interact and make it a little bit more fun. Make the show a little bit more personal, your own. Or if you're listening live, if you're listening later on as a podcast, whether it's on YouTube or Spotify or iHeartRadio, any one of the other platforms that we're available on, or if you just want to sit back and listen to me, thank you for making time for this show into your hectic lives. I really do appreciate it. I'm glad that I'm able to be here and be part of your sports fandom. All right. We're going to do Make Your Case. I'm going to do that one more time, but I would be remiss if I started this show anything other than with the news of the day. The bad man is gone. I know we've been sitting on this for a month and a half, waiting for it to actually be finalized and for it to actually happen. But it finally happened. As Taryn's giving me grief about talking about Aaron Rodgers. Of course, the Aaron Rodgers trade. Well, here's why it's relevant in Chicago, Taryn. As yes, I know that Bernie will be, of course, having a lot more in depth to be discussing about this on Sunday. Bernie Balgo, the host of Big Cheese Sports, you can hear him on Sunday afternoons. The reason this is relevant in Chicago, though, Taryn, finally, the Packers have moved on from a quarterback. And it's the Bears' biggest rival. And to finally, the man that has tortured the Bears and Bears fandom for the last 15 years is gone. The self-proclaimed owner is gone. And while Packers fans might be saying that he simply transferred ownership over to Jordan Love, I can't wait for this fall where we prove you oh so very wrong on that mark. Though I did, it was kind of funny. The news came down, and this is of course he managed to honk me off one last time before he left the division. When the news came through, my initial reaction was not one of joy, not one of celebration, but it was one of, finally, they got it done. Because we've been sitting on this for 6 weeks, waiting for this to become official, for whatever the heck the two sides were working on. I can't understand what in the world it was that held the two sides up. And we can, if you really want to, we can dive into the trade. I don't really feel the need to, but if you really want, if you're listening and, oh man, I want to hear what you have to say about the trade in particular, sure, we can get into that. Suffice to say, my initial gut was that the Jets blinked. That it was the Jets who gave in. But either way, he's gone. The deal is done. And now, unquestionably, the Bears have the best quarterback in the NFC North. And Fields moves up one more slot in the conference rankings as a whole, too. But hopefully, after we get into this season, he's going to be moving up a whole lot more spots just on his own merit and not needing the help of 39-year-old past their prime quarterbacks leaving the conference in order for him to rise in the rankings like that. All right. So let's get into it. One last time now before the draft. You guys know it. We've done it the last couple weeks. It's make your case. I've gotten several submissions. Not a ton left on the list that I've gotten from people, but I've got a few more. I've got a few more names that we're going to go through, and then I'm going to go through the overall list of players, and I'm going to make the pick for Ryan Poles of what I think he's going to do. What I think he's going to do there at the pick. Let's start. We're going to start. Now, this one came from Arthur Parsons, the host of the Bayou Bulletin. You can also hear him on Sunday mornings, 8:00 in the morning. Got to get up a little on the early side, or just have your morning coffee with him when you wake up. But Arthur, covering all things New Orleans for us with the Bayou Bulletin on Sunday mornings, he threw one out there. LSU pass rusher B.J. Ojulari was a name that he wanted to hear me talk about. And I have to be honest here as we get going. Ojulari at 9 overall, admittedly, is a reach. But it's certainly somebody that I could see the Bears being interested in. So I decided it was still good to talk about him, and I'm getting the list pulled up here for it from Athlon Sports. Again, this is their pre-draft write-up. Now this was published actually before they did the combine even. So there's so it doesn't necessarily have the measurables in here. So you have to take the rankings with a grain of salt, but there's still good stuff to take away from here. So B.J. Ojulari, edge rusher from LSU. He's 21 years old, 6'3", 245 pounds. Strengths. He's the younger brother of Giants edge rusher Azeez Ojulari, and their games are remarkably similar. BJ is a pure edge burner with the speed and bend to run the arc. His quick first step gives him an immediate advantage, and he has rep after rep on tape in which he simply blows by a tackle, turns the corner, and shows the closing burst to finish the play. That speed shows up in pursuit as a run defender, and his motor is relentless when chasing down plays. Looking at his career stats at LSU, 3 seasons at LSU, 129 tackles, 25 were for loss. He had 16 and a half sacks in his career, including 7 in 2021. He had 25 quarterback hits, 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, and he had a couple of pass breakups. B.J. Ojulari, edge rusher from LSU. Again, I have to be honest, I really don't necessarily see him going at 9. That's high. It's hard to make the case for the Bears to take him at 9. So I'm going to break my own rules to my own game here. But it's my game. They're my rules. I can break them. I'm allowed. I just decided. He's still somebody, though, that I like talking about him because in the second round, where the Bears have 3 picks, it's entirely conceivable that Ojulari could be sitting there. So he's worth talking about with a high pick. Certainly, he'll be off the board. Certainly come Saturday, he'll be off the board. And I would not be upset at all to find him in a Bears uniform. The Bears need help at pass rush. They had the worst pass rush in the league last year. They were the lowest team in sacks. They were the lowest team in pressures. It was non-existent a season ago. So having a guy like Ojulari, now he is a little on the small side. So he might need to bulk up, especially putting a hand in the dirt and getting right after tackles as opposed to coming from a 2-point stance from an outside linebacker spot and rushing that way. He might need to bulk up a little bit, but he's worth a flyer at the right spot. Again, I don't think 9 is necessarily the spot for Ojulari, but I think he's certainly a guy worth watching, a guy worth paying attention to. One name that definitely is worth paying attention to at number 9 and could and certainly would be worth a take, might already be off the board, is another one that came from friend of the show, Matthew Garner. As Marcus Losgreat jumps into the chat room, salute to you, sir. Marcus Losgreat, another one of our hosts here on IE Sports Radio, gloves off. You hear him on Wednesdays right now, talking all things combat sports. Good evening to you, Marcus. Marcus is also a 49ers fan, so he's not going to be very busy with this NFL draft stuff until, Saturday at this point, Marcus? Is that finally when the Niners get on, or do they have a third-round pick? I'm genuinely asking. I do not remember when the Niners have their first pick. I know it's late. I know it's very late on. But another name that was contributed to us, this one from friend of the program, Matthew Garner, he wanted to know about Devin Witherspoon, corner out of Illinois. And this is somebody that could very easily be off the board by the time the Bears pick at number 9. But then again, the positional value, he could very well be there at 9. So let's discuss him. 22 years old, out of Illinois. Oh, Marcus is on Sundays now. I apologize. I had my days mixed up. I'm sorry there, Marcus. You can catch it. He's another one of our Sunday shows now. So Marcus Losgreat with gloves off on Sundays now. I apologize. Devin Witherspoon, 22 years old, out of Illinois, 6 foot on the dot, 185 pounds. An exceedingly feisty and confident man corner, Witherspoon consistently shut down opponents in the Big Ten last season. He can thrive in a variety of coverages and techniques. Playing off man, he does a tremendous job keeping an eye on the backfield and breaks on the ball with tremendous click and close burst. He's also more than capable in zone coverage. He's advanced when it comes to route recognition, thanks to a combination of work ethic in the film room and natural instincts when mapping the field. But he seems to take the most pride in lining up in press coverage, using physicality at the line of scrimmage and throughout the route stem to disrupt the receiver. He has very good long speed, and he has above average length, enough to make it difficult to drop throws over his head and outside the numbers. He battles hard at the catch point and has the ball skills to create turnovers. He also has experience playing the slot, where he can mirror quickness, and he thrives in run support, seemingly taking pride in his physicality as a tackler. He's a special teams ace as well. Sign me up. I love what I hear there about him. Of course, the Bears do play more zone now that they're with Coach Eberflus and doing the cover 2 more so than, so you don't have as many man opportunities. But when I'm reading that there about Witherspoon, Jalen Johnson is just who jumps into my head. I love hearing that, the confidence bordering on cockiness, the willingness to get physical with receivers, and the joy of making the play. He wants to get up close into somebody and take them on one-on-one, mano-a-mano. That just sounds and feels like Jalen Johnson to me. It's nice that he can play inside the slot. The Bears probably already have that covered, though, with Kyler Gordon from last season's draft. But you add Witherspoon into that mix, along with the return of Eddie Jackson at safety, and then Jaquan Brisker coming into his own. That is the makings of a really, really, really strong secondary. As Mike Patton, Davidson Crooks hop onto the chat room. Good evening, gentlemen. And thank you, Marcus. The Niners' first pick is at number 99 in the 3rd round, so they will be active on Friday. One pick in the top 100. Woo. Woo. it's a long time to wait. Fortunately, the Niners, they don't need a whole lot, so it's working out for him there. But with Witherspoon, you add him into the mix, and this becomes a very, very strong secondary. And there's an argument to be made. I come back to an article that I read on 538 a few seasons ago that talked about in the modern NFL, really, even though the sexy positions on defense are the pass rushers, the edge rushers, the guys who get after the quarterback, really what teams should be looking to do now is honestly build from the back up to the front, because so many offenses now design their passing game basically to be an extension of the running game. Quarterbacks get the ball out so fast, it negates the pass rush. There's literally not enough time to get to the quarterback for the edge rusher. So you need to have a strong secondary to make more plays than normal. Also, conversely, if your secondary is good enough to take away the quick hits, that forces then the quarterback to hold on to the ball longer, which would then give the edge rush enough time to get home. So it's a backwards way of standard thinking in the NFL, but there's absolutely an argument to be made that you want to build from the back in the secondary towards the front instead of the more customary start at the ball and build your way out. So that's Devin Witherspoon to be going at number 9 overall. Honest, I would not be upset in the slightest if Witherspoon went there at number 9 overall. We're going to go one more guy here, and then I'm going to give my pick overall for the number 9 spot. We're going to go one more pick here. We're going to make our case for one more guy, and that is edge rusher Lucas Van Ness out of Iowa, 21 years old. Oh, before I do that, I apologize to Devin Witherspoon. I didn't give his statistics. 4-year career at Illinois, 42 games, 158 tackles, 10 for loss. He had 1 sack, 1 quarterback hit, 1 forced fumble. He had 5 interceptions, including 3 a season ago, and he had 25 pass breakups, including 14 last season. Lucas Van Ness, 21-year-old edge rusher out of Iowa. He stands 6'5", weighs 275 pounds. An unheralded recruit who quickly became a star, Van Ness stood out as a versatile and consistently dominant pass rusher at Iowa. He passes the eye test and then some as a broad-shouldered, long-armed athlete who won from alignments across Iowa's front. He flashes explosive speed, firing off the snap and getting to the quarterback when asked to come around on twists. He also has the closing burst and length to finish plays consistently. He can beat blockers off the edge or the interior, using short area quickness and heavy hands to go with his length. There's enough bend and flexibility in his body to turn the corner as an edge bending rusher. He's a special teams contributor as well, blocking 2 punts in the Iowa State game last year. Just 2 years at Iowa, 27 games, 71 tackles, 19.5 tackles for loss, including 11 last season, 13.5 sacks in his career, 7 in 2021, 6.5 a year ago, 7 quarterback hits, spread out 4 last year, 3 the year before that, no forced fumbles, no interceptions, 1 pass breakup. Van Ness, as Mike Pat mentions in the chat, Van Ness has amazing physical tools. He just looks like a beast. He looks like a guy that you can absolutely see setting on the edge and getting after the pass rusher. And as we mentioned earlier with BJ Ojulari, the Bears had the worst pass rush a season ago. You absolutely need help. And they didn't do a whole lot to address it in free agency. They signed they took a couple flyers on a couple of guys late, but didn't really do anything more than that. Nothing of substance there at edge rusher. So Van Ness would absolutely plug a gap. Might be a little bit of a reach at 9. I'm sure that Poles is considering moving down. There's a lot of rumor to that effect that he's considering moving down at this point in the draft. And I'm sure that he would prefer to trade down to get Lucas Van Ness. 9 might be a little bit of a stretch, but as with so many of the guys that we have talked about, the line guys especially, it would not be an inappropriate call at all to take them at 9 overall, because it would be a help to the Bears. You'd absolutely be getting a starter with that first round pick. All right. I'm looking at the time on the clock here. No, I'll do this in. I'll get this in, and then we'll take a break. So we talked about a lot of guys over the last 3 weeks. A lot of names came out. Some definitely will be in consideration at number 9. Guys like Devin Witherspoon, Jalen Carter, Paris Johnson. A couple of guys that, okay, yeah, it might be a bit of a reach. B.J. Ojulari, the punter from Michigan State. Obviously, that was done in jest, but I hope we had some fun with that one. Ultimately, what it comes down to for me, and ultimately the guy that right now I have going to the Bears at 9 overall, I want to help the line. Specifically, I want to help the offensive line. So if I'm the one handing in the card Thursday night at 9 overall for the Bears, it's Peter Skoronski out of Northwestern. He's the pick for me. He is the best technical offensive lineman in this class. He's got plenty of experience at Northwestern playing left tackle, but he's moved into other positions. I understand the concerns of the arm length there with him, but he's been able to hold up his own in Big Ten play. It's not like no offense to Braxton Jones, it's not like you're coming from the Big Sun and coming into the NFL. And all props to Braxton Jones for starting 16 games last season as a 5th-round pick out of the Big Sun. He absolutely exceeded expectations. He still has a ways to go, though. The front office is in love with him. It seems like Jones is going to be the starting left tackle, but Skoronski certainly could handle starting at right tackle. And if he struggles a little bit, fine. You kick him inside. You know that he's got the tools to succeed. He will be a help. Whichever spot you line him up at, he will be a starter. He's somebody that can contribute. So that's my pick. If you're forcing me to go defense, I'm actually going to go corner. Not that the Bears don't need help at pass rush. They absolutely do. I'm not in love with any of the edge rushers at 9, unless, again, if Tyree Wilson is there at 9, or if Jalen Carter is there at 9, stop the presses. That's who you take. I think both those guys are long gone, though, by the time we get to 9. I think they're both fringe top 5. My mock, I actually have Wilson going 5 to Seattle and Carter going 6 to Detroit. Jalen Carter to the Detroit Lions as taking off my Bear paraphernalia for a minute. I love the pick. Putting my Bear paraphernalia back on, that pick terrifies me. To have Aiden Hutchinson and Jalen Carter on the same defensive line. Another reason to go Peter Skoronski. You're needing to keep those animals off of Justin Fields. And I mean animals in the nicest way possible. But if you're going to tie my hands and tell me at 9 you've got to take a defensive player for the Bears, I'm actually going to go corner. If Christian Gonzalez is there, oh my gosh, sure, you take him. I don't think he's going to be there. I don't think so. So Devin Witherspoon actually would be my pick if I'm going to go defense at 9. I actually like Witherspoon. What you can do with the secondary there, really make the secondary strong. Where are you going to throw the ball then? You're going to be picking on Kyler Gordon, who improved a lot as a rookie, or you're going to try to pick on Brisker. And we saw last year that Brisker's no stranger to playing for the ball. So again, my top choice would be Skoronski. If you're going to make me go defense, though, my next pick would be Devin Witherspoon. So, Ryan Poles, if you're listening, take that for what it's worth. First of all, thank you if you're listening. I really appreciate it. Hit me up in my DMs, man. We can have some fun. But those are my thoughts on it. Hit me up in the chat room what you think of it. Mike Pat already letting me know he likes the Skoronski pick. Let me know what you think in the chat room, or hit me up on Twitter at Adam_Kernick. We are going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we have one more goodbye to make. It's not going to be quite as hard on me as the Patrick Kane goodbye was, but it's still a hard one for some different reasons. We have to remember Jonathan Taves on the other side of this break. You are listening to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
If you thought the first half of the NASCAR season was wild, you haven't seen anything yet. Catch all of the exhilarating NASCAR action from the final 20 races of the season, all on USRN. From the push to make the playoffs to the 10-race postseason gauntlet and the crowning of a new NASCAR Cup Series champion, it's all right here on USRN.
Hello, sports fans. It's me, your boy Larry B, and I want to walk you through the world of sports. No. Not just the mainstream major TV deal type sports, although those are important too. But let me be your guide through your journey of all sports, from college to the pros, the minors, and everything in between. Each week, we are talking sports galore with true diehards just like you from a hardcore fan's perspective that's sure to quench your thirst around leagues you may know all too well and some you may even discover here. That's right, sports fans. If you love sports of all kinds, enjoy hearing amazing sports stories, and respect all sports because you know how difficult any of them can be to play or compete in, then this is your show. Join me, your boy Larry B, on The Defining Moment each week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, and let the sports come to you.
What is going on, everybody? My name is Harrison Glazer, and we're coming at you from the Show That Never Sleeps podcast. I cover the Jets, the Islanders, the Nets, and the Yankees.
This is Pierre Moss, and I cover the Mets, Knicks, Rangers, and the Giants.
Our show is live every Wednesday through Spreaker and a bunch of other ways to get our content. Again, we're the Show That Never Sleeps podcast. We talk about all those New York sports. It's a lot of fun. We get into all of it. Please tune in. Again, that's Wednesdays at 6 p.m.
And we look forward to having you guys right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Motorsports takes many form, and there's one show on IE Sports Radio that's ready to cover it all.
I sure hope you're talking about you and I, Daryl, because I know the Extra Mile is the best place to go for everything motorsports related.
Yes, it is. From NASCAR to IndyCar to sports cars to everything in between, IE Sports Radio has everything covered for the fastest sport in the world.
Plus, don't forget all of our random shenanigans along the way.
That's right, Caitlin. So for plenty of motorsports coverage and plenty of Caitlinisms, check out the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio with Daryl Kinsey Jr. and Caitlin Seen, Thursdays at 8 p.m.
Hey yo, what's up? It's your man Bishop, the voice of This Is KC Sports, the show where we go over the Chiefs, the Royals, KC Current, Sporting KC, MU, and oh yeah, if we got time, we'll even throw in some of that KU stuff for my people on the 913 side. Come and hang out with us every Sunday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Adam Karnick here with you. Talked a lot of NFL draft there in that opening segment as the draft is finally here. Thank goodness. They needed. I'd be fine with them bumping it up a week, to be honest. Who else is with me on that one? You know, waiting until April 27. I'd be just fine with them doing it. You know, the third Thursday in April, not waiting to the fourth one. We've talked about this a ton, but it's important. It's you know, in the sports world, it is what it is. All right. April 14th was a bit of a sad day in the sports world of Chicago. It was announced that morning. Blackhawks general manager Kyle Davidson announced that would be the final game for Blackhawks game for longtime center and captain Jonathan Toews. Toews has spent his entire 15-year career with the Blackhawks. He was the third overall pick in 2006. He finishes his Blackhawks career fifth in games played, 1,066. Sixth in points with 882, sixth in goals with 372. He did score one in the final game of his career with the Blackhawks. Seventh in power play goals, eighth in assists. Of course, though, the big numbers, of course, the 3 Stanley Cup championships, 2010, 2013, 2015. Also appeared in 6 All-Star games. He was the Conn Smythe winner in 2010, that curse-breaking, that drought-breaking championship. He was the second youngest player ever to win the Conn Smythe, just 22 years old at the time. He also won the Selke Trophy in 2013. That's the best defensive forward in the NHL. Played just 53 games this season. And that's one of the hard things with Toews is his number of games played towards the end of his career with the Hawks. Unfortunately, just kept dwindling down. Played in just 53 games this season. That was easily the lowest of his NHL career. Played in 71 games a season ago, 70 the year before that. And that was after taking the 2020-2021 season off. Missed that entire season. 15 years, 1,067 games, 372 goals, 511 assists, 883 points for Captain Sirius. And that's who he was. He was the drill master, if you will, for that team. You had Patrick Kane, who was the human highlight reel. You had Patrick Sharp, who was kind of the fun jokester off the ice. You had Keith and Seabrook, who were energetic defensive men out on the ice. But Taves was the guy who kept everything grounded, who made sure that everybody was pointed in the same direction as a team. And he was always willing to take himself out of the spotlight if that's what was needed. He was willing to humble himself as a leader when the situation arose. If Patrick Kane was being Patrick Kane, all right, let Kaner be Kaner. If Patrick Sharp was having a fantastic night, okay, Brandon Saad, hey, they're having a hard time stopping him. All right, I'll get the puck over to him. I will do what's needed for the team. But at the same time, oh, nobody's stepping up? Get me that puck. Oh, we need a goal right now? Get me that puck. It's winding up in the back of the net. I will never forget a playoff game against the Wild in 2013 where the Hawks were clearly the better team than Minnesota. And clearly should have taken care of business already, but Minnesota just kept hanging around, and they were in Minnesota, third period of a game, and again, it was way closer than it needed to be. In Taves, you could just see it. He just went, fine, get out of my way. We're taking over this game right now. And within a matter of just a couple of minutes, he had put a couple of pucks in the back of the net, and you could just tell he was turning to his teammates and saying, get on board, get on my back, let's go. You need me, here we go. I'm carrying you the rest of the way this game. Obviously, the health problems the last few years have been a huge detriment to him. But he now gets a chance to kind of decide what his last chapter will be. He was quoted as saying he had a conversation during their final road trip in Seattle where he and Kyle Davidson sat down and had a conversation. Taves here, quote, I think in my heart, before I had the conversation with Davidson, I knew that for myself personally, whatever happens this summer, it's time. When he called me into the room when we were on the road last week and came out with it right away, it caught me by surprise because I didn't know what he wanted to talk about. But once I took a deep breath and let it sink in, I realized it's just what it is. There's absolutely no hard feelings. I have nothing but love and gratitude for the Blackhawks and Rocky Wirtz and the Blackhawk family. Everyone over the years who's been a part of that. You can't ask for more than that. At the end of the day, it's a business. It's a business where you want to win games and you want to go out there and entertain the fans and chase Stanley Cups. And I think it's exciting for me to, at the same time, not know what's really around the corner for me personally. But at the same time, it's a new start for the Blackhawks. He got a huge ovation before the final game of the year. And he got to have his last hurrah moment after the game also, skating around United Center, soaking it in. It was well-deserved. It was well-earned. I wouldn't be surprised if he retires, personally. I think that may be what's on board for him at this point is a retirement at this point, but he was a very integral part of something very, 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 very special over there in the Madhouse on Madison for a long time. Godspeed to you, Jonathan Taves. Wherever you wind up, may you have nothing but the best. And if you wind up when you and Kaner wind up on opposite sides of the same ice, that's going to be a fun picture to see. A fun picture to see of the two of you wearing opposite colored sweaters on the ice at the same time, if that's what happens. I'll be watching with a beer in one hand and probably a tear running down my eye. But thank you, Jonathan Taves, for the memories and the fun and for helping to teach me hockey. And best of luck to you and whatever else is coming down the road. All right, what's coming down the road for us is we're going to take one more break. We're going to talk a little tiny bit of baseball, and then we are going to wrap things up with just a little bit more draft talk here on Chi-Town Weekly, part of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey, sports fans. Are you in the market for Florida sports or just keeping up with the latest in the Panhandle? Palm Tree Sports is a dedicated audio hub to all things sports in the Sunshine State. We cover current events, big news, heavily favored opinions all across the NFL, NBA, MLB, and so much more. So come check us out every Saturday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For a down south education on Florida sports and athletics, it's hosted by yours truly, Corey Pujols, and is powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the 08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies.
And your one-timers.
Your wicked wristas.
And be sure to protect your five-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
everybody? This is Taryn Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunder Spikes? Then I have the show for you. Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And Taryn Rodriguez will be coming up right after us with Set Point, by the way, so be sure to stick around for that. Getting us caught up on all of the volleyball news, primarily across the NCAA. He had some matches that he was in attendance for this past week, but NCAA men's volleyball, beach volleyball, my personal favorite, and then some NCAA women's volleyball scrimmages as well that he's going to be going through. So be sure to stick around there right after us for that. All right. So we'll save a little bit more in-depth baseball talk for another time as I see how little time I have left on the clock. Suffice to say that the Cubs came back down to earth a little bit over the weekend, dropping 3 out of 4 to the Dodgers. The only game they won in that stretch was the very near perfect game on Friday, but unfortunately, the rest of the weekend did not go so well. And then the White Sox, 2 walk-off losses in Tampa Bay, and then they ultimately got swept out by the Rays. What the heck is wrong on the south side there? I don't know how, but we got to fix the White Sox somehow. Somehow we got to do that. But that, unfortunately, is a problem for another show at this point. So a little bit more NFL draft talk before we get out of here tonight. We've gone through, we've looked at a lot of players. We've commented how there's a lot of ways that he can't go wrong, that Ryan Poles meaning, this weekend with this draft. At the same time, this is huge for the franchise. On Thursday, Ryan Poles is going to be making his first ever first round draft pick. Remember, he didn't have one a season ago. They were finishing paying off for the Justin Fields trade. He had multiple second round picks, but this will be his first time making a first round selection. And this is incredibly important for the organization. I went through this past week in prep for the show and looked at the last 20 drafts that the Bears have made, just looking at the first round. So from 2003 to 2022, over those 20 drafts, the Bears had 15 first-round selections. One in every draft with the following exceptions. None in 2006, 2009, 2010, 2019, 2020, 2022. They did have 2 first-round picks in 2003. So 6 years, they didn't have a first-round pick. The other 14 years, they had a total of 15 picks. Of those 15 picks, only 6 of them went on to make a Pro Bowl. While only 6 eventually made the Pro Bowl. Of those 15 picks, I would label 9 of them as busts, straight up. 1 that is still pending. That's Justin Fields. And then 5 that were really hits. We'll do the hits first. Tommy Harris, Greg Olsen, Kyle Long, Kyle Fuller, Roquan Smith. Those are your hits. And you know what? None of those guys are currently with the team. Now, obviously, Tommy Harris, Greg Olsen, you're talking 2004, 2007. Those guys are, long since retired. Kyle Long, he's retired. Fuller, when he left the Bears, he made a big drop. And Roquan Smith, he's now in Baltimore. But listen to this name of misses in the first round. And tell me what you think. Mike, Pat, especially if you're still listening, tell me if this list is as ugly a list as I think it is for first round misses. Michael Haynes, Rex Grossman, Cedric Benson, Chris Williams, Gabe Karimi, Shea McClellan. And what makes the McClellan one even worse is Chandler Jones was still available at that slot. Kevin White, Leonard Floyd, Mitchell Trubisky. That's a rough list of first-round picks that this franchise has made since 2003. There's 9 whiffs on first-round picks. No wonder the Bears are in the trouble they've been in with only one playoff victory in the last 13 years. In that span, from 2003 till now, they've won 3 playoff games in that 20-year span. No wonder when you look at that list of first-round misses by their general managers, and they're all different general managers. It's not all just Ryan Pace. Jerry Angelo's in there too. There's other... the general manager that hired Mark Trestman, that name's escaping me at the moment. There's a lot of yuck in that list. Ryan Poles has got to start getting these first-round picks right, and it starts on Thursday night. All right, that is going to do it for our show here tonight. Some big thank yous, of course, to all of our Patreon supporters, Bay Area Raised, Emlos Great, Key to the Gate, and Anonymous. Thank you for your continued support. You want to help us out? Go to our website, iesportsradio.com. We've got our Patreon link right there. It starts at just $5 a month. You got a product or a business that you want to help promote? Support us on Patreon. We will help support you. Just $5 a month gets you a shout out in every single one of our shows. Shout out and thank you to Larry B., the czar and head honcho of IE Sports Radio. Terrific show that he and Mike Pat did on this past Saturday, by the way. They went through the entire first round of the NFL draft and made their picks for every team in there. It's always one of my favorite shows every year. I wasn't able to take part in it this year, but I really enjoyed listening to it. So congratulations, Larry and Mike. Terrific job on Saturday. Thank you to everybody in the chat room here tonight. Taryn Rodriguez, he's coming up right after us with Set Point. Davidson Crooks, Marcus Loscrape, Mike Pat. Thank you for hanging out in the chat room with us tonight for the show. And, of course, be sure to stick around for Taryn Rodriguez coming up right after us, talking all things volleyball on Set Point. Finally, thank you, the listener, for continuing to make us part of your sports routine. I love it. Thank you. Whether this is your first show or this is your 130th episode, whether you've been there from the beginning, thank you for being here. Tell your friends about it. Promote it. You know, let's grow this. Let's have this move some and let me know how I'm doing, whether it's in the chat room or on Twitter at Adam_Karnik, at IESRC. I appreciate the feedback. Next week, we're going to be breaking down the draft. Instead of pretending and talking about who the Bears might take, we're going to talk about who the Bears actually took. Oh, my goodness, I cannot wait. Next week, Monday, that'll be a great show there. We'll break down the Bears' entire draft, and we'll look at what the NFC North did as well. Until then, be good, be safe. We will see you next time. This is Adam Karnik for IE Sports Radio. Everybody have a great night.